When I think about who I was as a person before I came out, a lot of it was me trying to be this person that I knew that I wasn't.
I think the most important word that jumps out at me is closed off. I think I was trying to hide so much.
I remember thinking this was the worst thing that could have happened to me and that God hated me or something like that. And I remember going to church and being like, oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I know I'm not normal. Please help me out.
I never really opened up to anyone. I had a really hard time. Pretty much just kept like a wall between me and even my closest friends. Like if we were ever having a conversation about being gay, I would always like kind of overreact and be like, oh no, that's gross. So people like would absolutely not think anything about me.
In the job that I had, I like worked in kind of a corporate world, and I like didn't feel comfortable sharing my sexual identity with people that I worked with. I would like wear like cute leather flats and like skirts, and like I hated it. It was what I thought I needed to do to survive.
I love things like dance and figure skating, and I could speak the language and I could play the game as far as how to present myself physically with clothes and makeup and hair.
Little things would trigger me back then to feel really uncomfortable and really like in my head. For instance, I remember like freshman year, if I was sitting eating lunch with a group of girls, I would feel insecure because I would feel like guys are looking at me thinking, oh, look at that guy, he's fucking gay.
I was very shy, I was very reserved. I didn't like opening up to people. I always felt like I couldn't be my true self. Like I feel fine that I'm like passing and like people aren't, you know, saying stuff about me, but on the inside I would feel crushed.
A few years before I came out, I started dating a woman and like in a very committed relationship before anybody really knew. Sometimes it felt like we were playing pretend, or that, you know, we couldn't hold hands in public, or we couldn't just be like, oh, let me tell my friend about my girlfriend because it's this really cool and exciting thing that's happening in my life. And not being able to do that for years, just because I was afraid of what was gonna happen, was so hard.
It took a lot to convince myself that, you know, I wasn't gonna go to hell. I had to do a lot of work around those years between 17 and 20, 21 to really find out who I was on my own outside of all of those things. At a certain point, I couldn't keep lying anymore. I couldn't keep saying, no, that's not me.
I had a girlfriend senior year of high school that I very much liked. For a long time, I tried to hide it. I was like, well, if I can date a girl, I could just always like ignore the other side of me that's like attracted to guys, because I was still confused. I wasn't even sure like what I was or what I wanted to be. Me and her broke up, and I actually registered for a bunch of LGBT classes in college. Before I came out, I wanted to have resources and information so that people couldn't like tear me down. Once I understood that I wasn't wrong, then I was like, okay, I'm ready to come out. And if somebody wants to challenge me, I'm gonna be like, no, here is why. Like, I know what the fuck is going on in my head.
My mom was the biggest person I knew I needed to tell before I could like feel like I officially came out. And it could go one of two ways. Either she would see me as her daughter and, you know, she would love me and it would be okay. Or like the horror stories that you hear, I was bouncing back and forth between those two thoughts of like, I hope she still just like loves me.
Before coming out to my family and kind of the world at large was slowly coming out and finding other adults in the world that I could talk to who were very accepting, other out queer people, adults, and finding a reference point so I knew that no matter what, I had a future, that I was going to be okay, that even in my community, even if I didn't see those role models or those people thriving, I knew that they were out there somewhere. I just had to get out there.
I finally got to a point in my relationship where I knew we weren't going to get anywhere until I came out. Until we both came out, and it's gonna suck, and it might hurt, and it might be really detrimental to some relationships in our lives, but it's gonna be better in the long run. I was in a safe space, I was in a safe environment where I was able to come out, and I was fortunate enough to have a mom who listened.
When I came out to my mom, she took it the hardest out of everyone, but I felt like I had the resources to help her understand what it was and what it meant, and help her through this process, because I understand that for her it's probably really hard.
So we were actually on a long, like a 2-hour-ish car ride home. You know, I really need to get this off my chest. Everything I pretty much thought she would think and say, she did. And at points it got even kind of worse than what I thought it would get. It was pretty devastating. Like, it's the kind of stuff that you hear in media all the time and on TV of like, you know, these extreme stories about like families kicking their kids out for being gay or just like kind of saying these really awful things. To hear that coming out of your own mom's mouth, it was almost a surreal experience. Even though it didn't go the way I was hoping, it still helped me grow as a person, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I can't imagine my adult life without coming out. I can't imagine if I was still that person that I was trying to pretend to be. And I think the difference between then versus now is that I'm my full self.
Now I finally get to really figure out who I am as a person and who I'm gonna be as a person for the rest of my life. Like, being gay isn't just about who you like and who you're attracted to. And when you feel comfortable in your clothes and in your skin, people can tell. And I think you look through life differently and you walk through life more confidently. And for me, it's really changed who I am.
People kind of would be drawn to me more because those walls that I had built and kept up for so long for people to not kind of know anything about me were starting to fade, and people could see the real me and they gravitated toward that, and it made me feel good that like people can genuinely like me for me.
The biggest thing for me has been the acceptance that people have for you. Now I'm just myself. I think I'm just more relaxed. It really is a weight off your shoulders.
We all think we have crazy dreams, but if you really believe that, you know, this is something that's genuine for you and true for you and something that you really want, you should never stop yourself. Just know that there's other people like you out there. Please, like, find other people that can kind of be your support system.
Coming out means that you're ready to just tell the world what you are, and sometimes you're not. Sometimes you don't even know what you are. Like, it takes years to find out what you are, and it's okay for you to say, I'm figuring it out and we'll see. And if you don't feel like it's safe for you to come out, don't. But do work with yourself. If you're struggling with coming out, there's no rush. Take your time.
There's no one right way to do it. It might go really well, it might not go really well. It is a moment that you deserve to choose for yourself. Never let anyone make you feel like you have to come out when you're not ready to. I hope it's something that everyone gets to experience, and if you don't get to experience that because you're not in a place or a position to do so, then that's okay. We still love you. You are still part of this community, and you are no less recognized for it. You are no less of a queer person for it, and we are here to celebrate who you are as a person, regardless of whether you can come out or not.
There's a mountain of obstacles, but if you keep trying and you keep talking to people and you keep reaching out and you keep working as hard as you possibly can, you will find your spot and you will find your safe space. It is out there. Do not give up.